Have you noticed someone getting approved for credit cards and they have bad credit? Well, in this video today, I'm going to discuss how this can happen. And maybe you may be in a similar situation so that you can leverage your credit score so that you can go ahead and start building your credit and using your credit to get approved for credit cards, even though it may not be the best right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get on my iPad and then we're going to walk through this together. I'm going to draw this out, okay? If you don't know who I am, my name is Kenny Johnson. I operate a credit repair company here in Canada. We help Canadians in every province rebuild and fix their credit. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line right down the middle, okay? Now, here in Canada, we have two credit bureaus. We have Equifax, okay? And then we have TransUnion. Now, anytime you go to a bank, you're using one or the other, okay? So just for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna use two banks that I know use Equifax, and I'm gonna use a bank that I know uses TransUnion. So one of the most popular banks that uses TransUnion, okay, is Scotia. So I'm just gonna put an SC for Scotia, okay? So Scotiabank uses TransUnion. And again, just what this means is that when you go and fill out an application, whether it's an auto loan or a credit card, and you apply for their products, they're they're usually only going to use that TransUnion. Now, this isn't always, but in most situations, they're going to use that TransUnion credit report to make the final decision on if you're going to be approved or not. Okay, with Equifax, we have a bank such as TD. Okay, TD, same story. Anytime you go, let's say you get an auto loan, a credit card, mortgage, they're usually going to use your Equifax to make that decision. Now, keep in mind, at the time I'm making this is the case for these banks, but I have noticed from my time in this industry, operating my business, that these banks can change the credit bureaus that they use. Okay, so it's up to you as a consumer to know which bank uses which credit bureau. Now, if you're ever unsure, let's say you bank with CIBC, one tell, and this isn't always a guarantee for you to know, but one tell that you can do, okay, and I'm just gonna draw another line here. Okay, let's just say we're confused about which bank. We don't know if our bank pulls from TransUnion. We don't know if it pulls from Equifax. One thing we can do is we can check our credit score, okay? We'll check our credit score. And we'll check our credit score through the banking app, okay? So if you were, let's say you bank with CIBC, if you were to log into CIBC today, as of today, and check your credit score through the banking app, while you may see very limited information on your credit profile, you may see in very little writing where they're pulling your credit score from. And as of today, CIBC is pulling it from TransUnion. And again, this isn't for all products, but primarily this is going to be for credit cards. So as of today, CIBC will pull from TransUnion. And again, you can know this by going in, logging in, looking at your credit score. And most banks, most of the top banks in Canada do this. Okay, if you went to TD, okay, we went to TD and we went and looked at our credit score through the TD app, you would see that they're providing you that credit score through Equifax. Okay, now another way that there's kind of a tipping point or a hint of understanding where our banks pull from is by simply going directly to your credit report. Now, if you have Credit Karma, ClearScore, if you have Borrowwell, these are platforms that you're going to want to use. Now, within this, you need to understand what these platforms are. These are just third-party platforms. That's all they are. Okay, so if I am using, let's say I'm using Credit Karma, okay, and I'm using a lot of abbreviations because I don't have much room on this sheet. Let's say I'm using Credit Karma. I know that Credit Karma provides me with my TransUnion, okay? So I'm only able to see my TransUnion score through Credit Karma, okay? Now, because I know this, I can go to the inquiry section, okay? I'm gonna just put IQ. I can go to the inquiry section and I can check on who has pulled my TransUnion credit report to try to approve me. Okay, so if I were to log into my Credit Karma today, go down to the inquiry section, I would see what lenders are pulling my TransUnion to make a decision on my application. Okay, so for example, I have an auto loan with Scotia. I have them in my inquiry section. Okay, I have a credit card with CIBC. I have them in the inquiry section. And the same is also true with Equifax. Okay, so if you have the Borrower app, okay, let's say you have the Borrower app. Okay, let's just say Equifax. I'll just do BW. Okay, we have the Borrower app. Borrower pulls directly from Equifax. Okay, they pull directly from Equifax, and if you go to the inquiry section in Borrowell, you would see every lender that is pulling from Borrowell, okay? Or from Equifax. Now, you have to be very careful because sometimes lenders will pull from both. And banks reserve the right, if they so choose to pull from both credit bureaus. So keep that in mind. Okay, you're not entitled to make them pull from one credit bureau or the other. They have the choice if they want to pull from both credit bureaus. And just to give you an example of this actually happening, for the longest time, Amex would only pull from TransUnion. I would have my clients go to Amex, get approved, because the TransUnion was through the roof, all these great things. And Amex was just pulling from TransUnion. We got so many wins. And then all of a sudden, we noticed that Amex started pulling from Equifax as well. Okay. They still usually used or leveraged the TransUnion to approve those applications, but we noticed that they started using Equifax as well, which goes back to what I mentioned earlier in the video, is that these banks, they can always change how they do things. You just have to be ahead of the curve. Now, if you want to kind of safety net yourself from this happening, make sure both your Equifax and TransUnion, you have a good credit score. At least, and if you're applying for Amex, at least above a 720. Okay. So we want to be at least a 720 between both platforms. Okay. Because again, Borrowell and Credit Karma, they can pull from both. Okay. And I know this is getting kind of sloppy at this point, but they can they can pull from both and they reserve the right to do so. So you have to ask yourself, maybe you don't have the best credit right now, which is okay because I've had clients do this in the past and it's okay for you to not to have good credit on one platform and not have the best credit on the other. In most situations, TransUnion takes off first, okay? Most situations, TransUnion takes off first, and then Equifax is kind of like this gradual climb up. And then it could also be the inverse, right? It can also be the inverse. Sometimes the Equifax takes off first, and then that TransUnion is more of a gradual incline. We have no way of knowing the rhyme and reason on why this happens. We just know that Equifax and TransUnion are two completely different companies, and so we need to treat them that way and leverage whichever better score that we have. Okay. So again, back to our example. Let's just say, let's just say the person that we're working with has a 720 on TransUnion and a 600 on Equifax. Now you may say that's a 120 plus point difference. I'm sorry, 120 point difference between Equifax and TransUnion. And you would be correct. It's a big difference. And this is actually very possible. I see this a lot. Sometimes the difference between the two scores is a lot wider. And what happens in this situation is that there's something reporting on Equifax is holding that client back versus on TransUnion. So we get a lot of clients that come to us that say, hey team, like TransUnion is really fine. Like I really have no issues there. It's my Equifax, and then we also get the vice versa. My Equifax is fine, but my TransUnion is the profile that needs to be worked on. Which again is fine. You just have to have the knowledge to know how to leverage the two. So back to this topic, if I have this client and they come to me and they say, hey, Kenny, I need a credit card, I need a loan, I need something soon, there's an emergency I need to take care of, and I know that I'm going to be able to financially pay this off, okay? I'm going to tell them, okay, well, let's look at that TransUnion because we know it's a 720, okay? And then I'm going to ask myself a question. Do you have any derogatory remarks? If they don't, perfect. When was the most recent inquiry? Was it within the last 6 months? No. Perfect. They check my boxes, and then I can tell them, hey, go to Scotiabank. Let's go to Scotiabank, get that loan, get the easy approval, your income, your DTI is low. We're going to get the easy win, okay? But we're going to avoid banks like TD. We're not going to do TD. We're not going to touch it because we know that they're sitting at a 600, all right? And it's not ideal for them to go ahead and apply with a bank like TD, okay? So if you are in a similar situation and you may need a loan and you may need a credit card and you know that you have a budget in place and you can financially pay that debt back that you're about to take on, this is more than okay for you to take on this strategy, okay? Warning, if you are not the person that does not, if you don't have a budget in place, don't do this. Do not do it. I beg you, don't do it because you're only going to put yourself in a worse hole. And the only reason why I okay this in most situations is because sometimes people have changed. Your credit profile can follow you pretty much your whole financial journey, right? Your credit profile can just follow you your whole financial journey, and things change. Maybe you messed up your credit when you were in college or in university, right? You messed it up when you were in university. You went out, you racked up a credit card, and it's just been there for the past 5 years hurting your credit. But now you graduated university, you have a full-time job, you're making a good income, but you need credit. You need access to it, and you know you're responsible now. I come across this a lot. That's okay. It's okay for you to use this strategy. Okay. Leverage the credit score. Use what we talked about. So, just a quick recap. We have Equifax, we have TransUnion. We need to understand which bank pulls from which credit bureau. Some of the things that we can do, okay, we could check the bank, okay, we could check the bank, check our credit scores through the bank, just to quickly go through, okay, or we can check our Borrowwell or our Credit Karma to see who's pulled. Don't get caught into the trap of not understanding that some banks can pull from both credit bureaus. If you see, let's say, for example, Scotiabank, if you see a Scotiabank on Equifax and TransUnion, they have pulled from both, okay? And you never know which one they're going to use to make that final decision. But when in doubt, just assume that they're going to use the worst off credit score, okay? Which at the end of the day is why it's so important that both of our Equifax and TransUnion are 720 plus. You do not need a 900 credit score. It's not necessary whatsoever. You don't need it, okay? But if you use this, you do have favorable odds of getting approved, even though you may have bad credit, okay? You may have bad credit. You may have bad credit on Equifax, but you probably have really good credit on TransUnion. Okay. So hopefully this video will help. If you're in a similar situation, maybe your Equifax has a few collection accounts and your TransUnion is completely clean. My company will be more than happy to help you out. We've helped hundreds of Canadians across Canada. We have clients in every province. I have a team of 12 that help me out to help us tackle a lot of these issues for our clients, dealing with collection companies, a bunch of inquiries, late payments. We dispute all those things. If you need help, send us an email, info@kennyjohnsonuniversity.com, and we will be happy to jump on a call with you to assist you. Until next time, peace.